Hello, my name is Juliana Frazier, and today I'm going to present my Final Four Strategic Management. And the company that I chose was the Hilton Garden Inn, which is owned by the Hilton Company. The goal of this project was to assess and analyze the Hilton Garden Inn and the Hilton brand as a whole by means of thorough research, so as to understand and learn about their business model, their success, and to identify opportunities for the company. And my approach to this project involved obtaining and analyzing articles written about the Hilton Company, analyzing their financial statements, and gaining information directly from the Hilton website. So some background and some context about what Hilton is. They are a hotel chain, and they were founded by Conrad Hilton, and he purchased his first hotel in Cisco, Texas in 1919. It was called the Mobley Hotel. And from then on, he continued to purchase more hotels. In 1925, he opened the first hotel to carry the Hilton name. And as technology advanced in 1927, Hilton was able to open a location in Waco, Texas that had cold running water and air conditioning. So it was the first of its kind. And about 20 years later, Hilton became the first coast-to-coast hotel group in the USA. And a few years after that, they were the first hotel in the world to install televisions in guest rooms. So ever since the founding of Hilton, their business has exceeded and expanded a ton. Their mission statement is to be the most hospitable company in the world by creating heartfelt experiences for guests, meaningful opportunities for team members, high value for owners, and a positive impact in our communities. Their vision statement is to fill the earth with the warmth and light of hospitality. So beginning with the pestle analysis, in the political section, they are facing some hostility in the midst of their global brand expansion just because of what's going on right now with Ukraine and Russia. They're not able to focus on projects for building locations in either of those countries because of what's going on right now. Because if a country is unstable, that will drive away potential guests. People do not want to travel to countries or areas where it is dangerous. Economically, Hilton grows where it is most cost efficient to grow. And then at that bottom point, hotel growth is where businesses are located for their business travelers. So Hilton likes to build their properties in cities because in cities are businesses, and those businesses have traveling employees who need places to stay. Interest rates and the GDP of countries affect Hilton's business growth with inflation rates, taxes on hotel rooms increase, and a stable economy is necessary for the establishment of a hotel. As I stated before, Hilton is most likely to expand in large cities where there is steady in and out cash flow. On the social aspect, a lot of their hotels are dependent on consumer lifestyle and their consumer demographics. So Hilton has multiple chains. For example, Hampton is a really great casual place for families to stay whenever they're traveling through town and they need a place to stay, and they provide a clean room and a free breakfast in the morning. And Hilton also has a different brand called the Home2 Suites, which every room has a living space, it has lots of furniture, and it has a kitchen area. And that's more for people who are looking for a long-term place to stay. As far as COVID-19, Hilton has also put in measures to protect guests with safety precautions in public spaces, posted signage to warn guests and to keep safe distance. Technologically, countries are developing at different rates, therefore hotels can only incorporate so much technology as that country is able to provide. And technology really provides a value for the hotel. These technological advancements reduce costs for the hotel overall. So for example, with the invention of the digital key, so many guests are using their phone now instead of plastic keys, which reduces the plastic waste and the cost reduction of buying those physical keys. Legally, Hilton hotels must operate by the laws established in the country, state, and city in which they're established. Hilton offers brand-wide employee laws to protect them and other legal basic framework. So, for example, they want to protect themselves from liability of guests having things stolen from their room. So every Hilton property has a safe in the closet in which the guests can store their things, but there's posted note on the back of the door that the hotel will not be liable for any damaged or missing property. Environmentally, the world is increasingly more environmentally aware because of global warming and different issues like that. So sustainability is a huge factor for Hilton. They have taken the initiative to protect our environment by installing solar panels on their roofs. For Hilton Garden Inns, they have recycling bins on every floor. And they also have posters all over the property letting guests know the different tactics that that property is using to be more eco-friendly. Moving on to the five forces, if there's high competition with Marriott or Hyatt, their main competitors, then this will overall lower ADR and decrease lodging profitability as a whole. So Hilton is very cautious about where they create their new hotels, where they're establishing themselves, because if they are in the same 2-mile radius of a Hyatt, then there's going to be really high competition. So Hilton likes to take over a town with their different brands so that they don't have to be that much competition. Suppliers for Hilton's have high bargaining power because the hotels are very dependent on numerous supplies and amenities for guests. Examples would be the furniture in the room, the shampoo and conditioner and body lotion the hotel provides. So the supplier's bargaining power is high. As far as buyers' bargaining power, the demand is high from buyers because they are looking for the greatest offer for the least amount of money. The smaller customer base of a hotel chain they have, the more power those buyers have. So it's really important for Hilton to have a very large customer base to keep the buyer bargaining power low so that the hotel can make a good profit on their ADR. As far as the threat of new entrants, additional lodging companies stress Hilton's cost reduction, their strategic ADR to offer and provide value for guests. And profitability decreases for Hilton when a new lodging company is able to provide a new offering in a unique way that hasn't been done before. So those are some of the threats they face. Substitutes are a huge factor for Hilton. One source noted below said the threat of a substitute product or service is high if it offers a value proposition that is uniquely different from present offerings of the industry. So with Hilton, they have some diversity as far as what they offer depending on their different brands. But for example, Airbnb is a huge substitute that has become so popular because there is a vast, it's really too big to measure as far as the diversity of the locations and the properties that they offer to rent out. Some strengths for Hilton is that they have a very diverse market and customer base, and they also have a very diverse corporate team in their properties. They have very strong customer relations. That's very important for Hilton and for hospitality as a whole to develop relationships with their customers. And they have worldwide brand recognition. So even if you haven't stayed at a Hilton before, you would recognize either the logo or at least the name. Some weakness that they face is that they are very dependent on economic and social stability because that directly ties into people's ability to travel. Some opportunities that they have is increased global expansion, which they've been doing the last couple of years, and progressive technological advancement. So they currently use an app that is very popular. However, it gets lots of bugs and it freezes, and sometimes people aren't able to access their digital key. So they have the opportunity to fix that and to make it more efficient for guests to use. Some threats are their other competing brands, such as Marriott and Airbnb, and unanticipated pandemics or natural disaster, and also economic climate. For their operations, one of their strengths is that they have a hierarchical structure and a strong customer service team. It's really important, they stress, to employees to develop relationships that are meaningful with their guests. But a weakness is delegation of work from manager to manager. There is a big load as far as the operations of a hotel, and it's really easy, especially for managers on salary pay, to delegate work to their subordinates. As far as marketing goes, they have a very strong marketing team. They send out emails regularly with discounts and offers for their members, newsletters. They have commercial advertising. A weakness, however, would be that they don't market well for individual properties. They advertise for Hilton as a whole, as opposed to the smaller, more hometown locations. An HRM strength is they have an extensive onboarding training process. Hilton wants to make sure that their employees have the same values and goals to provide great service for their guests. And a weakness to this is low pay, and that creates a lot of turnover because it's a lot of responsibility that they're not being paid enough for. Financially, according to polls in 2011, hospitality contributed 9% to the GDP, but more recently, in March of this year, Hilton Worldwide Holdings revenue for the quarter ended was 1.7 billion, which is a 96.91% increase year over year. However, a weakness was that a couple years ago, they had a $101 million deficit, and this was due to the global pandemic. As far as their business strategy, guest appeal is a top priority of Hilton's business. And you can say the same for hospitality as a whole. It's all about the guests and maintaining high levels of service standards. Some core competencies that they have is that they are adaptable to customer needs. They have a diverse portfolio of brands that cater to different needs of a traveler. As I mentioned before, Hamptons are more catered towards families. They have indoor pools and free breakfast. Hilton Garden Inns have an on-site restaurant, indoor pool, fitness center for, and market for the business traveler. A competitive advantage is their worldwide brand recognition, their diverse portfolio, as I mentioned before, and digital hospitality. So I touched on this briefly. Basically, their Hilton app offers a lot for guests. It offers check-in. You can choose your room. You can choose the card you want to use to pay for the room. You can look at things to do in the city, and you can also check out on the app. They also have mobile services, multiple booking channels for people to use that makes it a lot more efficient. Hilton was named, or Hampton, sorry, the Hilton chain was named the #1 franchise opportunity in Entrepreneur Magazine's franchise ranking. And in April of this year, Hilton was named the second top best company to work for in the US. As far as the organizational culture goes, Hilton properties are divided by ownership shares, management and franchise shares, and timeshares. However, some challenges and problems that they're facing is that there's high employee turnover. There's just not that strong of a workforce right now due to the pandemic, and they're at the risk of political and the economic climate of the United States and worldwide. And they've had a relatively slow recovery since COVID-19. For my learning and my recommendations, I would recommend that they continue to innovate new products and digital services to keep a sustainable competitive advantage. A lot of people love Hilton because they love the Hilton app. It's very easy to use. It's very simple. However, they do have some bugs on the app, and sometimes it doesn't work very efficiently. So I would recommend that they put more work into that, and that they experiment with product design and quality to find the most cost-effective supply. Hilton Garden Inn is the most eco-focused brand that Hilton has, but I would hope that they would want to expand some of those recycling practices and et cetera onto their other brands as well. Continue building a large customer safe to keep buyer power low. They can continue to do that by creating more brands to cater to different groups, installing smart TVs for easier guest use. Those have become extremely popular, and people that are traveling want to be able to stream from their devices. So having smart TVs would be a huge appeal to travelers of every kind. and installing solar panels on all their properties, I think would be a great move to show people that they are taking the initiative to protect the earth. And there are some of the resources that I used for this presentation, and I have a lot more information included in the paper as well. But anyway, thank you for listening.